Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Elizabeth Edgerly, the Executive Director for the Alzheimer's Association here in Northern California and Northern Nevada. And I'm happy to be coming to you from my actual office in San Jose, a sign of the times that some of us are vaccinated and able to get back out there and, of course, carefully with masks and hand sanitizer and all that. But I'm very happy to be with you today. Today for Facebook Live, I'm going to focus in on one particular cause of dementia. Not only is it something that I have personal experience with my mother, but it's also one of the most common causes of dementia. And so in our work, we meet many of you who are dealing with Lewy body dementia. So let me tell you a little bit about Lewy body dementia. Some of what I learned about it was that Dr. Lewy actually worked in Dr. Alois Alzheimer's laboratory. And shortly after Dr. Alzheimer's was doing his work on plaques and tangles in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease, Dr. Lewy discovered this abnormality in the brains of people with what we now call Lewy body dementia. And so a Lewy body, and it's spelled L-E-W-Y, it looks almost like a little pyramid, these Lewy bodies, and they are made up of a protein that is called alpha-synuclein. And similar to amyloid, which is what leads to plaques in Alzheimer's, it has to do with fat, and they don't know exactly what it's for and why it's going wrong, but we see it in Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. And we know that it seems to have something to do with fat transportation in and out of cells, which is the same thing that amyloid does. So for people with Lewy body dementia, the big difference between them and Alzheimer's are these Lewy bodies, which are pervasive throughout the brain. Some of the differences. Now, what really matters is what is the experience of the person with Lewy body dementia and how is it different? And some of these things you will be able to relate to. If you have a loved one with Lewy body dementia, you may have noticed some of these things. One thing that I really noticed is that the people that I knew who had Alzheimer's disease actually had much more memory impairment than my mother who had Lewy body dementia. We would be able to have a conversation. Although she struggled for words, she could follow a conversation and she knew who I was the entire time. In contrast to a good friend of the family who completely forgot who I was within 20 minutes. That's not something that my mom with Lewy body dementia would have had, but my friend's mom with Alzheimer's, it was really, really different. So you'll notice some differences there. People with Lewy body dementia will have trouble with thinking and reasoning. So following a rational argument is not going to be a strength of theirs. Another thing, a really big thing, and my colleague Michelle Johnston, who is behind the scenes here, just reminded me of this because she also has a family member who passed with Lewy body dementia, is in Lewy body dementia, there's a lot of variations. Now we talk about this in variations from day to day, moment to moment, where people's consciousness can really vary, where their alertness. But both of us had this experience of our loved ones being unable to even wake up. They were so sound asleep, no one could wake them up. And we had that many times. My colleague also had that. And so that's something to be aware of, that it is part of Lewy body dementia to have this very unusual and quite disturbing symptom of the disease. Other things that happen with Lewy body dementia, a bit more than Alzheimer's, is slowing down and having more imbalance, like gait disturbance, where the person has a hard time walking smoothly. They may really slow down and have a hard time initiating activity. So I remember talking with my mom and saying, okay, let's go. And she would just sit there and she understood what I was saying, but it took a while to initiate. Those of you who know people with Parkinson's know that that can happen in Parkinson's too. These diseases can overlap and have some similarities. Other things that you're going to see potentially in Lewy body dementia are well-formed hallucinations. So in my family's case, my mother would actually see a dog in her room or a cat in her room. The dog was okay, the cat not so much, because she was very allergic to the cat. And then that became part of a delusion. And for our family, it was the delusions that were so difficult to deal with, because they, in her case, were quite troubling. She believed something bad had happened to her grandchild, or that people were out to get her, and it caused a lot of distress. So if you are caring for someone with Lewy body dementia, or you yourself are experiencing Lewy body dementia, what I want you to know is these are symptoms of the disease. It's not necessarily that the person with the disease is doing anything wrong, but it is part and parcel of what happens in the brain when Lewy bodies start to form in different parts of the brain. So things that you might see also are sleep disturbance. There's something called REM sleep disruption, and that's where the person can end up doing things when they're sound asleep, like, oop, my arm disappeared there, but punching, reaching out. So if it's your bed partner who has Lewy body dementia, you may find yourself getting hit in the middle of the night. So all of these things add up to something that looks a lot like Alzheimer's, but isn't quite the same thing. So what do you do about it? Well, the treatments for Lewy body dementia are usually the same as they are for Alzheimer's. And there's some suggestion that the current drugs for Alzheimer's, like Aricept, are maybe even better for people with Lewy body dementia. So it's a good idea to talk to your doctor and get an idea if this might be a fit for your loved one. There are no specific treatments right now for Lewy body dementia. And while they were looking at a possible drug to help with the delusions and hallucinations, that drug, that clinical trial, did not turn out to show that it was a clear-cut helper for people with different types of dementia. That drug was called pimavanserin. And they're going to, I think, go back to the drawing board and maybe even do a study just with Lewy body dementia. And I really hope they do, because those delusions are very different than what you might see in Alzheimer's disease. So what do you do in terms of the diagnostic process? Well, it's really important that you, as family members, if you are the person concerned about yourself, bring someone who knows you really well. When we went through this process, we had an in-depth conversation with my mother's doctor to describe the symptoms. And it was that comparing the list of symptoms I just shared with you with what is more typically seen in Alzheimer's. And I think Michelle's going to put in the chat here, we have some excellent resources on our website. So read up on it, print it off, and start to formulate those questions about how the differential diagnosis has taken place. There's no single test for Lewy body dementia. So often it is a conversation with your doctor that's going to get you where you need to be. So what do you do? Well, one thing is turn to the Alzheimer's Association. We have educational resources, and frankly, the classes that we offer on dementia always include something about Lewy body dementia, and the resources are the same. They're very helpful, whether you're dealing with Alzheimer's or vascular dementia or one of the other types of dementia, and certainly for Lewy body dementia. So please reach out. One thing you may not know is that our full name is the Alzheimer's and Related Disorders Association. And guess what Lewy body is? It's a related disorder. So we are here for you. In addition, there's some also wonderful resources at the Lewy Body Dementia Association. We will partner with them. And so wherever you can find good information, we strongly encourage you to do so. And please let us know what you find that's helpful. That's the best way to learn about things often, is word of mouth. Speaking of word of mouth, if you would like to meet with other people who are caring for a loved one with Lewy body dementia, we have a group just for you. And now that everything's virtual, you can join us from anywhere. So on Thursday, the 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, join us for the Lewy Body, for our Lewy Body Dementia Support Group for caregivers. And Michelle's going to share information with you on that. So please join us. It's a great way to meet other people who are going through the same journey that you are. The last thing I want to mention is that we are also investing in research in Lewy body dementia. There's a lot still to learn about not only alpha-synuclein, but Lewy body dementia. And we have a brand new partnership that we have formed with the American Brain, I believe it's called the Brain Association. And so we have a partnership with them to specifically look at funding Lewy body dementia related testing to see if there might be ways to get to the point where there's an imaging test or a blood test or something that could help make this process easier. So with that, I want to bring it to a close. I think we've got some wonderful resources to help you. Please don't hesitate to call us on our 800 number. 1-800-272-3900 is our 24/7 helpline. And we invite you to join us in all sorts of activities. Certainly get involved in the movement to create a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementias. I hope we'll see you at The Longest Day on June 21st. Check that out, and I wish you all the best. Please feel free to reach out if we can help you in any way. Thanks and take care.